Twilight rests upon the wall. The lamp is trimmed and low. The phonograph begins to sing in accents soft and slow. You lift your hand to mine as if by old design. The velvet rug remembers well this little step of thine. A little waltz to close the day in grace, with starlight on your face. A little waltz. The teacups have grown still. The fire has lost its flame. Yet when you smile and murmur, darling, the room is young again. The window keeps one star. The curtains breathe and sigh. A silver hush moves through the room, like music passing by. No grand serenade was needed, no trumpet from afar. Your shoulder near my own tonight outshines the brightest star. A little waltz to close the day in grace, with starlight on your face. A little waltz. The record turns to silence. The lamp grows faint and small. Still one sweet measure lingers on and blesses all the walls. Below, the druggist draws the shade. The stair smells faint of snow. Upstairs, the little signal lamps begin their evening glow. The wet galoshes by the stove leave commas on the floor. 3 folded slips lie face side down beside the wicket door. You sit before the walnut board with chords in black and red, one sleeve turned back above the wrist, one pencil at the ledge. The county bells come thin and quick. You answer without haste, and fit one shining plug to one as neatly as to lace. I came to ask for Dexter 5, a simple call, no more. But heard you say, go on, she's there, and close the booth door. A mother from the Ridge Road line, a grocer by the square, someone whose voice kept breaking up because the snow was there. You held the circuit breathing soft while all the shops below went dark one after one along the street under the snow. The line stayed open, the line stayed open. Past the hour the druggist turned his window shade, till every far-off halting word found the ear for which it stirred, and no one had to leave the night half made. The line stayed open, the line stayed open. There are hands that carry parcels, there are hands that hem and mend, there are hands that keep a wire from breaking at the end. You never heard the whole of it, you never asked to know, yet something in the way you waited taught the voices how to go. The line stayed open, the line stayed open, long enough for one last yes and one more county name. And when at last you drew the cord, the room was only wood and board. But I had seen how kindness works without a sign or flame. The line stayed open, the line stayed open. You wound the falling chords in loops, set both receivers down. The snow kept whitening at the curb, the clock hands crossed the town. I never placed my call that night, I stood until you rose, and all the way home every wire seemed humming through the snow. The dome was dark before the show, the seats held winter air, and on the desk beside the charts, the little stars lay bare. You stood beneath the lowered sky with chalk upon your sleeve, the brass plates stacked in careful piles, too still to quite believe. A row of coats along the rail gave November to the room, and somewhere in the lobby hall a school bell lost its tune. The children waited 2 doors down, their mittens in a heap, their voices bright enough to wake the painted heavens from sleep. You checked the map, then stopped your hand grinned and frowned, but only slight, for Orion's belt was missing one small borrowed point of white. You found it near the projector base, no bigger than a seed, a white pin fallen from the sky where no one else would heed. You lifted it between two nails, then climbed the narrow stair and set it in the velvet dark as if it answered there. A boy outside began to ask if Mars was truly red. The usher hushed the waiting line, the clock moved on ahead. You stepped back once to judge the place, not proud and not for show. And all at once that paper night had somewhere else to go. No one would know the sky had failed by such a little mark. The children would have watched the stars and never missed the dark. But there are hands that mend a world before the lights begin, and give the farthest things their names by putting small things in. Orion was missing only one pale spark, only one quiet point of care against a borrowed dark. Orion was missing. You set the heavens true and made a room of waiting eyes look up because of you. Orion was missing, then found beneath your hand, not moon, not vow, not golden flame, but something made to stand. Orion was missing. I saw the lesson clear. A sky can turn more merciful when someone notices here. The lights went down, the children gasped, the dome began to glow, and in his belt one little star held all the dark in row. The town had shut its porches down. The courthouse gave one chime, and in the little exchange room the cords hung still as twine. She sat before the switchboard wall with cotton at her wrist, a pencil by the message pad, her coffee gone to mist. The moths kept tapping at the shade, the fan turned slow and wide, and every sleeping house outside had wires at its side. Then one red lamp began to wink above the doctor's name. She lifted up the answering cord before the second flame. A woman's voice came thin with fear from 4 miles past the mill, and all the room around the board grew suddenly more still. Hold the line, hold the line. Nothing more than Yet in her hands the darkened town had one way through. The doctor's bell rang twice, then three, then stopped beneath the floor. She tried his sister's boarding room, then tried the back drugstore. No panic crossed her steady face, no word was spent too fast. She only looped the cloth-bound cord and made the silence last. The farmhouse breathed against her ear. A child coughed once, then cried. She said, "He's coming, keep the lamp," and set the jack beside. Outside the gravel road lay black. The moon was nearly gone, but still she kept that little light from being left alone. No one would see the way she sat with one hand near the board, or how a common copper thread could carry mercy toward. Some rooms are small enough to miss, some work leaves little sign, but life may hang for half a breath on who will hold the line. Hold the line, hold the line, till wheels are heard beyond the bridge, till fear has crossed its time. Hold the line, not bell, nor hymn, nor flame, only a woman keeping still beside a blinking name. At dawn the doctor called her back. The child had found his sleep. She wrote one note, then cleared the cord and let the morning keep.
The hallway smelled of chalk and paste. The bell had just rung through, and in the nurse's little room, the basin held the blue. You stood beside the medicine shelf with cotton in your hand, a ledger open to the date, a chair too small to stand. The playground dust was on his knees, his pride was worse than skin. He kept his chin set hard and high to hold the crying in. He washed the thumb and turned it slow, not making much of pain, then blew the iodine dry before it stung again. A ruler tapped beyond the wall, the class began to add, and all at once that quiet room seemed kinder than it had. He tore the gauze in one clean strip, then folded it just twice, and said the bravest boys you knew still had to take advice. He watched you tie the little knot as if it were a prize, then looked at me and looked away with sunlight in his eyes. My errand there was nothing much, a note the teacher sent. I stood beside the open door and forgot the way I went. You wrote his name beneath the line, then gave his sleeve a brush and sent him back with both hands whole inside the morning hush. The bandage on the thumb, white against the school day sun, was only meant to hold a hurt till arithmetic was done. The bandage on the thumb, I watched your fingers stay and learned how softly care can speak when pride is in the way. No one would call it tenderness, a basin, gauze and chair. A boy who fell beside the swings, a nurse with pinned up hair. Yet some small mercies keep their place long after bells have gone. The hand that does not shame the wound but helps the child move on. The bandage on the thumb, neat beneath his cuff of blue, held more than cotton, tape and thread because it came from you. The bandage on the thumb, plain as any schoolroom thing, still shows me how a gentle hand can send the hurt back singing. The bell rang out for recess time, the hallway filled with feet, and in your book the morning stayed, recorded small and sweet.
Twilight clung to window glass. The floorboards held the blue. A magnolia sighed below, where dawn was breaking through. The canvas waited pale and still. The jars were lined in gray. No phonograph, no footstep yet, only the edge of day. My silhouette beside the pane looked thinner than before, as if one breath of morning light could open every door. The blue before color kept all the little room in grace, and laid a hush on every place. The blue before color. A teardrop trembled near my hand, then vanished in the shine. The rag, the brush, the wooden chair, all seemed almost divine. The rooftops softened into gold, the shadows thinned away, and one small jar upon the sill began to catch the day. A reverie moved through the room. slow. The starlight left the window glass to let the morning grow. No serenade came through the street, no great command was heard, only the light on common things and one awakening bird. And then I knew how beauty starts, not with a blaze or cry, but with a little tender change in air and wood and sky. The blue before color kept all the little room in grace, and laid a hush on every place. The blue before color. At last I raised the waiting brush, the white began to flower. Still in my heart there softly stayed that blue and fragile hour.
Twilight had left the window glass. The cobblestones were bright. A little bell gave one soft sigh and crossed into the night.
The velvet kept the carriage warm, the brass rail held its gleam. My silhouette beside the pane looked thinner than a dream.
We crossed the bridge above the quay, where starlight touched the black,
and every little silver chime seemed like a calling back, till the bell went faint. The whole dark city seemed to sway and pull old afternoons my way, till the bell went faint.
One woman left with parcel string,
one wan man with coat and cane,
their footsteps found the cobblestones,
then vanished into rain.
I should have kept my hat in hand
and let the car move through,
yet every stop the bell grew small
and sounded more like you.
The window kept one thread of star,
the wires gave back a sigh,
a little hush of reverie
rode softly passing by.
No serenade came through the street,
No voice spoke out my name,
only the rails beneath the floor,
and all the night the same.
and yet I think some partings live,
Not in the heart alone,
but in the way one silver note
can make a city known.
till the bell went faint. The whole dark city seemed to sway and pull old afternoons my way, till the bell went faint. The final corner took the car. The lamps grew pale and few. Still one last ringing crossed the bridge and traveled on with you. The studio front was locked by then. The portraits faced the wall, and underneath the red room lamp the shadows did not fall. You stood beside the chemical trays with water at your wrist. The negatives clipped over string, the air all sharp and still. A family came that afternoon, 3 children, coats and rain. The youngest would not hold his chin, the father smiled in vain. Now one small print lay silver pale, their faces nearly gone, and you leaned closer to the tray as if it could hold on. The timer clicked beside the glass, the sink gave one low sound. You did not lift the paper yet, you let the light stay bound. Hold it in the fixer, not too long, not too soon. Let the faces find their way beneath the little moon. I watched the picture clear and saw how carefully a hand can keep the loved ones near. The mother's glove showed first in gray, the baby's ribbon next, a chair leg, then the father's sleeve, then one small dimpled neck. You rocked the tray from side to side with patience in the red, until the blurred and almost lost came living up instead. I came to fetch a passport frame, that was the reason made, but all my errand thinned away beside that shallow shade. You rinsed the print and held it high, then smiled, almost surprised, as if a room could give back time when no one advertised. You pegged it gently to the line, still shining from the bath, and 4 wet faces trembled there like breath upon a path. Hold it in the fixer, let the white turn true. Let what nearly slipped from sight return because of you. Hold it in the fixer, plain work under red. Yet something in that little room refused to lose the dead. Some things vanish quickly there, a blink, a child, a year. A shoulder moved, a mouth half laughed, a father standing near. But once in a while, through careful dark, what almost went away is given back a sharper edge, and somewhere safe to stay. Hold it in the fixer till the image knows its name, not as it was meant to be, but saved enough the same. Hold it in the fixer, I think of it tonight. Your fingers under red room glass, teaching shadow how to light. The serving glass had clouded white. The soup pans breathed below, and January filled the tracks with cinders, dusk, and snow. You stood behind the counter there, with steam along your hair. The enamel cups in crooked stacks, the rolls gone hard with air. A porter warmed his hands and left. A sailor asked for tea, and every spoon against a bowl rang small and separately. I ordered coffee just to stay, then held it much too long. The platform board said northbound 5 was nearly due and gone. You took your cloth and reached above the pansy's slow silver eyes, and wiped one circle in the glass, as if to clear my eyes. The steam on the glass, the steam on the glass, made all the room a little world the leaving could not pass. The steam on the glass, then one clear place shone through, and I could see the train outside, still waiting there for you. You counted change for 2 old men, then closed the biscuit tin The kettle clicked beneath the shelf and settled down again. My ticket lay beside my cup, its corner damp and curled. A little paper permission to step out of that world. You asked if I would need a roll. I said the ride was short. The loudspeaker coughed above the door and named my train and port. You did not tell me not to go or make the moment last. You only wiped the counter clean and did not look too fast. There are departures made with noise, with wheels and iron calls, and some begin in quiet rooms where steam climbs up the walls. I think I knew before I stood, before I touched my hat, that some clear places vanish first when breath comes back to glass. The steam on the glass, the steam on the glass. Close softly where your hand had been before the minutes passed. The steam on the glass, no vow, no grand goodbye, only one circle fading there between the train and I. The northbound pulled beyond the shed. The refreshment room grew small, and in the window's whitening pane, your hand was gone from all.
The room was blue as folded silk. The pane kept one small star. A hush from tired twilight lay on every waiting jar. My brushes stood in patient ranks, like guests who knew the hour. The floorboards held the last of night. The curtain bent and bowed below. A magnolia moved so lightly in the air. Its fragrance climbed the narrow stair as if to find me there. Then on the glass my silhouette grew pale and fine and mild, as though the morning entering had asked to be let in. The blue before gold knows what the heart has almost said, and keeps it where the dark has fled. The blue before gold. No footstep crossed the attic stair, no voice disturbed the room, yet every tray and silver cup seemed listening in the gloom. A teardrop gathered on the brush, then trembled into gleam. Not sorrow fit to bear a name, but sorrow near a dream. Outside the roofs were pearl and smoke. Inside the canvas bare, began to hold a little more than emptiness and air. No serenade came up the stair, no trumpet broke the blue. But when the first faint brightness fell, it felt almost like truth. For some things do not come as joy, nor leave as griefs depart. They only lay a tender hand upon the listening heart. The blue before gold knows what the heart has almost said, and keeps it where the dark has fled. The blue before gold. The star went out upon the pane, the blue began to yield. I set one quiet color down as though a vow were sealed. And long after the room grew bright and common morning rolled, something in me stayed very still inside the blue before gold. The store was closing floor by floor. The lamps went pale above, and hat boxes beside the glass leaned softly into love. You stood inside the elevator with buttons at your hand. The brass gate folded bright and thin, the mirror tall and bland. A lady called for millinery. A clerk came down with lace. A child pressed every numbered light and hid his guilty face. Then he arrived with violets, his overcoat half done, and asked for floor 11, as if there were only one. The bell had rung for closing time, the door should have been drawn. You held the gate a moment more and let him hurry on. Hold the gate at 5, let the brass stay wide. Let someone carrying flowers keep his errand safe inside. Hold the gate at 5, a courtesy no more, yet all my heart stood waiting on the wrong side of the floor. The car rose past the dresses, past gloves and evening shoes. The mirror took took his violets twice and gave them back in blue. You asked if he was nearly late. He smiled and said, "A little." The elevator trembled up between the floors of metal. I had no reason riding there, no purchase left to claim. My parcel held a necktie pin, my ticket bore no name. But when you reached to stop the lift and turn the handle slow, I saw how lightly one small hand can help another go. He thanked you with his hat in hand and stepped into the hall. You watched the violets disappear and did not watch me at all. Hold the gate at 5. Let the old ropes rise. Let another man's bright flowers reach another pair of eyes. Hold the gate at 5. No promise, touch or sign, only your hand making room for a kindness that was not mine. It was not envy, I would say, to buttons, brass and light. Not envy of a flower bunch sent somewhere out of sight. But certain little mercies can uncover what we hide. The gate held open gently for the one who gets to ride. Hold the gate at 5. Let the floors go by. Let the mirror keep the violets and the question in my eye. Hold the gate at 5. The evening store grew still, and all the way down after him, that open gate stayed filled. The elephant house woke before the ticket gates were wide, with straw dust in the rafters high, and October kept inside. She came along the iron rail with apples in a pail. Her sleeves rolled back, her step so soft it hardly touched the scale. The younger ones were restless there. They swung their trunks for more. Their chains rang once against the posts. Their shadows crossed the floor. But in the farthest corner stall, where morning entered late, the old one stood and waited still beside the wooden gate. Half an apple later, when the noise had passed, she saved the sweetest broken piece and gave the old one last. Half an apple later, no crowd, no call, no claim, only one hand remembering who answered to a name. The keeper checked the water trough, then brushed the rope aside. A school bell rang beyond the park, the city stretched outside. She split one apple with her thumb, where age had made it brown, then held it up with patient palm and never hurried down. The old one took it carefully, as if the world were thin. Her great gray head bent lower there and trusted what was in. No one was there to photograph, no child was there to see. Only straw and iron hooks and one small courtesy. Half an apple later, soft beneath the rind, was not enough to fill the day, but more than being kind. Half an apple later, the house grew still and wide, and all that morning seemed to lean toward what she set aside. Some faith is made of larger things, of vows and bells and art, but some is kept in pails at dawn and carried part by part. The world may feed the young and bright and praise the quick parade, yet love is often what remains when something small is saved. The gate swung open, footsteps came, the children filled the sun, and in the corner, chewing slow, the old one kept that one.
Twilight thinned on window glass, the cobblestone shone blue. A little bell gave one soft sigh and pulled the dark streets through. The velvet kept the carriage warm, the brass rail held its gleam. My silhouette beside the pane looked lighter than a dream. One woman left with parcel string, one man with coat and cane. Their footsteps faded from the stones and would not come again. Where the last lamp fell, the whole old corner came in sight, then slipped once more into the night. Where the last lamp fell, we passed the baker's shuttered door, the florist dark and still. A thread of starlight touched the roofs above the climbing hill. I did not mean to lift my head or let the blue streets call, yet something in that thinning light comfort me at all. The window kept a little star. The wires gave back a sigh. A hush of reverie rode near, then drifted slowly by. No serenade came through the square. No voice spoke out my name. Only the bell, the rails, the dark, the city just the same. And yet I think some evenings hold a tenderness too well, the way a whole lost world returns, where one last lamp once fell. Where the last lamp fell, the whole old corner came in sight, then slipped once more into the night. Where the last lamp fell. The tram moved on through sleeping blocks. The lamps grew faint and small. Still one last patch of silver stayed, where night had touched the wall. The ushers dimmed the aisle lights down. The organ tried a chord, and in the booth above the crowd, the second reel was stored. You stood beside the rewinder there, with film across your hand, a little lamp, a silver can, a picture yet unplanned. The children rustled paper bags, their mothers settled hats. A newsreel drum began below, with horses, flags and maps. Then one bright strip went loose and thin, a torn frame near the side. You caught it before the wheel could pull the afternoon too wide. You trimmed the edge with careful shears, then brushed the dust away, and laid the broken inches flat where all the shadows lay. The cement smelled of orange peel, the sprocket holes shone small, and when your thumb held down the seam, the booth forgot us all. I had come up to ask the time, or so I told myself. My ticket stub was folded twice and warming on the shelf. You did not turn, but softly said, "Hold still until it dries." And all the moving world below was waiting for your eyes.
One clear splice, one clear splice.
Nothing anyone would see when
Faces filled the light. One clear splice.
Yet when the reel ran through, a broken moment crossed the screen, as if it always knew. I think of how the crowd below would never guess the place where one small tear was made to pass without a jump or trace. Some care is not a grand repair, not gold, not speech, not art. It simply joins what nearly failed and lets the story start.
One clear slice, one clear slice,
held between your patient hands before the matinee light.
one clear slice.
I saw it then and knew a life may keep its picture whole because of hands like you. The projector caught, the reel went round, the room below grew bright, and through that little mended place the lovers crossed in white.